I can walk around a department store without being followed. I can come late to a meeting and not have my lateness attributed to my race. I can turn on the television or look to the front page and see my ethnicity and race fairly represented. I can take a job and not worry that my coworkers suspect that I got my job because of my gender or my race. I could send out my hypothetical 16-year-old son and not be terrified about what might happen if he stopped by the police. These are the inalienable rights of all U.S. citizens. I'm Phil Turek, former aerospace engineer, retired high school physics teacher, and a moderate, idealistic Republican citizen against tyranny, a meerkat. It should be increasingly apparent that the current regime is focused and determined to revert the United States back to its original Constitution before all amendments, enshrining power in the hands of the privileged few or one, while the many of us must suffer what we must. In previous episodes of this playlist, I detailed my process to use 21st century communications and social networking connections to build a social networking chain that coaxes and then herds one bill through Congress. In my case, a bill to ban gerrymandering nationwide. My vision is that this process becomes adapted by other U.S. citizens to work on other urgently needed reforms. For example, the Insurrection Act needs some tweaking. Instead of one person determining whether or not to invoke it, perhaps it should be the president with the concurrence of the vice president and or the national security advisor. It should have a time limit, perhaps 2 weeks. It should be geofenced to a specific geographical region. It should require greater approval and oversight, the judiciary and or Congress, to continue it. All of those are an example of just one reform that is urgently needed. My particular social networking chain that I'm building to ban gerrymandering nationwide will cease to exist once that enforceable law has been enacted by Congress. There could be times when different social networking chains working on different reforms come into conflict with each other. For example, whether or not to remove a given member of Congress. In those situations, I suggest that the chain anchors meet, debate, and work out a joint strategy going forward. I'm appealing to the young voters of today in particular. You're facing economic hardships. The American dream has slipped away from you. Choose your one reform, your one cause. Find or build a local support group. Hammer out what the specific reform is, an intelligent reform. Choose the anchors for your social networking chain. Build it, and then coax and hammer it, coax and then herd it through Congress to make it an enforceable law. I'm planning to run for Congress, and my intent of being there is to help other chains as they interact with their representatives. My background is Polish. One of my relatives had invented a process, and his boss wanted to honor him, naming it the Turek process. He modestly declined. I always thought it would be humorous because my family tree includes the Blaziewskis and the Kudkowskis. Polish names often end in SKI. If you replace my last letter with SKI, then my process would be called the Tureski process. I'm honored to unite communities working towards our shared ideals. I'm Phil Turek, and I approve of this message.